So things have gotten pretty wild with the announcement of the Harry Potter series on HBO. After months of rumors and back-and-forth discussions about the cast, things officially hit the fan when the news came out that Papa Asadou, a black actor, was going to be playing Snape in the new HBO series. Snape, one of the most iconic and complex characters in the Harry Potter universe, is now being cast with a major change. He's black. And, unsurprisingly, this decision has created a firestorm of reactions from fans all over the place. Let's take a step back for a second. HBO had been promoting this new Harry Potter series as a faithful adaptation of the books. Fans had high expectations. They were promised that the series would stick closely to what J.K. Rowling originally created, giving us a more authentic, book-accurate experience than the movies did. You know, those movies that a lot of fans loved but also critiqued for not fully capturing the essence of the original material. So, when the casting of Snape, among others, started to leak out, it raised a lot of eyebrows. The thing about Snape is he's a deeply layered character. He's not just a simple bad guy or a stereotypical villain. His backstory, his motivations, and his ultimate redemption arc are a huge part of what made him such an iconic figure in the books and movies. And now, with the casting of Papa Asadou as Snape, the character's backstory is about to be completely flipped on its head. A lot of people were not happy with this casting decision. It wasn't just about the race swapping itself, it was about the fact that HBO promised fans a faithful adaptation, and then did something that doesn't feel true to the character. Snape was described repeatedly in the books as pale with greasy black hair, a hooked nose, and overall kind of a disheveled and unattractive appearance. He wasn't traditionally attractive in any sense. In fact, he was bullied for being different. And yet, here we are with a casting choice that seems to completely ignore that aspect of Snape's character. Now there's this whole debate going on about whether or not Snape's race matters. Some people argue that it doesn't. After all, he's a fictional character. But the problem comes when you start changing elements that were key to the character's essence. In this case, it's not just about race, it's about what Snape represents. His journey from being a bullied, outcast kid to one of the most morally complex characters in the series is tied to his identity as a white, British man in a very specific social and political context. Changing his race may fundamentally alter the dynamic of his story, especially when it comes to his complicated relationship with other characters like James Potter, Sirius Black, and Harry Potter himself. The backlash has been strong, not just from right-wingers or people who have issues with diversity in media, but from fans of all stripes. Even progressive Harry Potter fans, who are generally all for more representation in media, are raising their eyebrows at this one. Many people feel that while they support more diversity, this particular change feels forced and doesn't add anything meaningful to the story. They feel like it's a case of diversity for the sake of diversity, without any real thought given to the impact it would have on the narrative and character arcs that fans have loved for decades. Let's talk about why this casting of Snape has caused such a stir, though. The character of Snape isn't just some background figure in the series. He's essential to the plot. His actions, motivations, and secrets drive much of the story, and his relationship with Harry Potter is one of the central emotional arcs of the entire series. The problem a lot of fans are seeing is that casting a black actor for Snape doesn't just affect the visual representation of the character, it changes the entire dynamic between him and the other characters. Imagine James Potter and Sirius Black bullying a young black Snape in the 70s. The optics of that would not be great, to say the least. This is a character that was bullied by his classmates, but it was largely because he was socially awkward, poor, and different in a very specific way. Turning Snape into a black character raises some uncomfortable questions about race and bullying that don't really fit into the original context of the story. And this brings us to a much bigger issue with the ongoing trend of race-swapping characters in general. It's not just Snape either. There are other characters in the Harry Potter series that could have been cast with more diversity, characters who weren't as deeply tied to specific race-related themes in the books. But when you start messing with beloved characters like Snape, who are so integral to the plot and whose personal arcs are tied up in cultural and social dynamics, that's where people start to draw the line. One of the biggest criticisms here is that HBO didn't just cast a black actor for Snape. They completely redefined the character. Snape in the books is poor, socially awkward, and not traditionally attractive. He comes from a bad neighborhood and is constantly picked on by other kids. The new casting of Asidhu, however, changes all of that. Not only is he black, but he's also an actor who is very well put together and attractive in a way that the original Snape was never meant to be. Fans are pointing out that this doesn't feel true to the essence of who Snape was supposed to be. It feels like an attempt to change the character to fit into some kind of modern mold, and that's exactly what people are upset about. The thing that stings the most for many Harry Potter fans is that HBO promised them a faithful adaptation of the books. If this was truly a faithful adaptation, then why are they making such drastic changes to characters like Snape? Fans are asking, why does it feel like the studio is trying to make the show more modern and inclusive by changing the characters that fans have loved for decades, instead of sticking with the source material? At the end of the day, it seems like this casting decision is less about making the character of Snape better or more meaningful, and more about trying to please a certain group of people who want to see more diversity in their media. And while there's nothing wrong with diversity, it shouldn't come at the cost of completely changing the essence of a character. Now there's a whole bunch of other issues that arise from this casting decision, too. For one, there's the fact that Snape's relationship with Harry Potter is already fraught with tension and animosity. If Snape is now a black character, that could change the way that relationship is perceived, and potentially cause some major shifts in the dynamics of the entire story. This isn't just about Snape either. Fans are worried that other characters will be similarly modernized and altered to fit a certain narrative. For example, characters like Sirius Black and James Potter are integral to Snape's story, and if their characters are also redefined in the same way, it could drastically change the tone of the original story. If Sirius and James are bullying a black Snape, the whole dynamic of that bullying could take on a much different tone, one that feels less about Snape's personality and more about the issues of race and privilege. It's not just about the racial swap, though. Fans are also questioning the way that HBO has handled the entire casting process. By leaking out these casting choices bit by bit, with Snape's race being one of the major talking points, HBO has clearly been trying to manage the backlash. The issue is that, by making such a huge change to a central character, it's clear they're not going to be able to avoid the controversy. Fans who were hoping for a faithful adaptation of their beloved books are now left with a sense of betrayal, as it seems like the studio has gone out of its way to push a narrative that doesn't fit the spirit of the original material. In the end, it's clear that HBO has made a decision that has divided the Harry Potter fanbase. The casting of Snape as a black character has brought up serious questions about fidelity to the source material, the role of diversity in casting, and how far studios should go in trying to modernize beloved characters. This isn't just a minor tweak. It's a major change that alters the very essence of the character, and fans are understandably upset. Whether or not this decision will end up being a good one remains to be seen, but for now, it's one that's certainly causing a lot of noise.